This film tells the story of a woman named Amy Luffren. At that time she worked as a nurse at Parkfield Memorial Hospital in New Jersey, America. At that time, Amy was called by her superior because Amy often allowed the patient's relatives to stay in the room even though it was forbidden. They were short of hands during the night shifts, so the hospital decided to recruit extra help from an experienced person. After she left the office, she continued her shift taking care of one of the patients in that hospital named Holly. She took care of her all by herself when suddenly, she felt a pain in her chest. She had to take rest for a while to recover from the pain. After she finished her shift in the hospital, she went to the heart doctor to check her condition. After the checkup, the doctor sentenced Amy to cardiomyopathy, a condition where the heart cannot pump blood normally. If she continued to overexert her heart, she would end up suffering from coronary heart disease. The doctor told her to keep her heart from getting too much work and kept it functioning as long as possible so she could be put on the transplant list. Moreover, the doctor warned her about the high risk of a heart attack she might have. That made her sad. She couldn't possibly stop working since she needed to provide for her family. If she stopped working, she would eventually lose all her money since she didn't have savings or health insurance. At night, when she returned to work, Amy met a man who has just moved to the hospital named Charlie Cullen. She then helped him to get to know the hospital. She then took him with her to see a patient named Anna, a woman with an amoxicillin allergy. Charlie and Amy got closer in no time. He even helped her to take care of her patients, which made her work easier and avoid overworking her heart. When she felt the pain building in her chest, Charlie was there to help her. She then told him about her condition, which suffered from cardiomyopathy. She asked Charlie to keep this a secret so she wouldn't be fired. In 4 months, Amy would be able to get health insurance to help her with her condition. Charlie then decided to help her with Holly to lighten her burden. The next day, when Amy came to work, she got the news that Ana Martinez had died. She was confused and wondered how that happened so fast. Charlie then took care of Anna's body while Anna's husband was on his way to the hospital. Charlie cleaned up Anna's body while Amy explained to Mr. Martinez about Anna's death. Long story short, 7 weeks later, 2 detectives named Braun and Baldwin were called by the chairman of the hospital named Linda Garan. They were both summoned to help conduct an internal investigation related to the death of Ana Martinez. Medical experts said that this happened because of the strange reaction to the use of drugs, but they didn't find any element of intention. Unfortunately, Ana Martinez's body had been cremated, so an autopsy would be impossible. These 2 detectives then planned to interview all staffs who worked at the hospital. Later in the police station, Baldwin found out Charlie Cullen's name from the files they brought from the hospital. He was once accused of a criminal offense in Pennsylvania 8 years ago. Braun later confirmed the findings to the police department in Pennsylvania and found out that Charlie was indeed arrested for fighting with his girlfriend, nothing more, but Baldwin thought something was fishy. One night, Linda Garan gathered all the staff for a briefing about an interview that would be conducted by the police. The problem was that Linda would also supervise the interview. Baldwin and Braun were against it but couldn't do anything about it. The thing was, if Linda was there, they wouldn't be able to freely interview the staff. When it was Amy's turn to be interviewed, at the same time, Linda was called by her secretary, so she left. Baldwin immediately took advantage of it. He could be freer to ask some questions to Amy. From the file, seeing the irregularity of Ana Martinez's glucose level, Amy said that the number shown was not right. There was no C-peptide test which indicated that insulin in her system was not produced by her own body, but instead, someone might have injected it into her. And besides that, Martinez was not diabetic. When Linda returned to the office, they stopped the question about insulin and asked about Charlie Cullen. Amy said that Charlie was an experienced nurse who worked with her. She was sure that Charlie wouldn't make such a mistake. Baldwin furthermore asked for the results of the internal investigation carried out by Linda for the past 7 weeks. She promised to send the results the next day. Some other time later, Amy continued to do her job. When she had to give CPR to a dying patient, Amy did it with great difficulty. Her heart condition made her tired easily. Charlie always backed her up and tried to help her. He even took Amy for a checkup with the heart doctor. Charlie told Amy to tell her children about her condition so that if something happened to her, they would be able to do first aid or called for 911. Amy still had 2 months before she could claim her health insurance. At home, Amy told Alex about her heart condition. Charlie also taught Alex the procedure to call 911 and other emergency services. At another place, Baldwin and Braun had finally received the results of internal investigations from Linda. They expected boxes full of files, but to their surprise, they only got a single folder for 7 weeks of investigation. Baldwin then visited Linda and asked for all the findings and evidence from her internal investigation. He shouted at Linda by telling her to put aside the reputation of her hospital.
Sit down.
Excuse me?
Sit the fuck down! You know exactly what you're doing.
Linda seemed to be worried about the future of her hospital. If it was proven that there was malpractice in her hospital, she would lose the trust of the patients. But because of coercion from Baldwin, she was finally reprimanded and banned from entering the hospital. The case went to a dead end because Ana Martinez's body had been cremated, preventing them from doing the autopsy. One day, Amy got a new patient from a family with a newborn. A mother named Kelly had an accident and had to be treated there. Kelly was very responsive to the service, even when Amy joked about Vanessa, her baby, but the next night, when Amy checked on Kelly's condition, something looked strange. She didn't respond to any orders from Amy. She didn't even remember Vanessa, her own baby. Amy immediately called her husband Kelly, and at the same time, Kelly had convulsions and died that night. Tom, her husband, who had just arrived, couldn't hold back his sadness. The next morning, at Amy's house, Braun and Baldwin visited. Amy thought that they were going to ask her about Kelly's death, but apparently, they just wanted to ask Amy for help with Ana Martinez's case. Braun and Baldwin finally found out that there was another victim. They asked Amy about Charlie Cullen because the former hospital where Charlie worked before didn't want to give them any information about him. Amy didn't believe that Charlie was a bad person. Baldwin and Braun convinced her that Charlie wasn't like what she knew. The fact that Kelly's body also contained insulin made Amy begin to suspect that something was wrong with Charlie, especially since that was the second case and the police suspected Charlie. One day, Amy met a friend named Lori who was also a nurse at another hospital. Coincidentally, she had worked with Charlie, so Amy asked about him to her. Lori immediately told her that there were rumors about Charlie, saying that he was responsible for several deaths, that Charlie made the patient overdose by injecting insulin into the patient's IV fluid. Some fluids were even injected before it was given to the patient. Lori said that even though it was just a rumor, when Charlie worked in their hospital, many deaths occurred, but when he was moved, much fewer deaths occurred. Amy felt like she was struck by lightning. She then went to the Parkfield Hospital storage room and checked the IV fluid bags. She found a bag with leakage the size of a syringe. Not long after, due to exhaustion, Amy fainted and had to get medical treatment in the emergency room. When she woke up, she panicked because Charlie was there with her. At that time, Amy had already believed that Charlie was the one responsible for the death of Ana Martinez and Kelly. Sometime later, Amy decided to talk to Baldwin and Braun. She told them that Charlie put insulin into the IV fluids. Since the fluid infusion was slow, it would take hours or even days to kill a patient and nobody would see it coming. Charlie could kill people without even touching them. Besides insulin, digoxin could also be injected there, because the fluid was also colorless. Amy wanted to help Braun and Baldwin by checking the drug withdrawal reports from Charlie's account so they would know if any insulin was taken before Ana and Kelly's death. The problem was, they had to have the body intact for an autopsy, so they went to Tom's residence for permission and he agreed to help find justice for Kelly by allowing them to rediscover Kelly's grave. Amy's night shift was tense because she had to watch Charlie's movements. Amy would also change the IV bag that Charlie put on the patient, just in case there was insulin in it. She also had to secretly print out the evidence of the drug taken from the storage through Charlie's account. In the meantime, after the autopsy of Kelly's body was done, it was true that insulin and digoxin were found in his tissues on her death, and the report showed evidence that Charlie had taken insulin and digoxin from the storage the day before. The problem was Charlie had been using the bug on the computer system. By canceling the withdrawal at the last minute, the medicine drawer would remain open and he could freely take what he needed without the computer reporting it. That made the evidence that Amy brought not valid as evidence because all the reports said cancellation instead of withdrawal. And since Charlie came to the hospital, there had been repeated medicine withdrawal cancellations. Amy mentioned that Linda might know something about this since she was a former nurse herself. At the hospital, Linda and her lawyer called Charlie. She fired him for the mistake in his working experience. When applying at the Parkfield Hospital, Linda said that it was stated in the contract. The true intention of why she fired Charlie was to keep her hospital reputation. Hearing that made Braun and Baldwin very disappointed, because Charlie might end up working in another hospital and such a case would possibly happen again. Amy was shocked when she found out Charlie was there playing with her kids at home. Amy was worried when she looked at a serial killer in his house playing with her children. Charlie told her that he was fired from the hospital, even though it wouldn't be much longer until Amy got through this and received her health insurance. Charlie then offered to look after her kids while she was working. Luckily, Amy found a good excuse to refuse his offer. Amy still couldn't believe that she had befriended a serial killer and let him be close to her children. Another day, Amy helped the detective to meet Charlie. Amy planned to make Charlie confess all his crimes so the detectives could record them for evidence. So, one afternoon, Amy met Charlie at a bar for lunch. There, Charlie informed her that he had been accepted to work at another hospital. It was a bit difficult at first for Amy to lead the conversation. At first, Amy said that there had been rumors roaming around about Charlie since he left Parkfield Hospital. Amy tried to convince Charlie that even though the rumors were right, she wouldn't care the slightest about it. Charlie then changed the subject, but Amy again asked Charlie to talk about what he did at Parkfield Hospital. Charlie scratched his head, and with teary eyes, he said that he had to go because he didn't want to be late on his first day. Not long after, the detectives came and told Amy that they could arrest him for 48 hours. On the way, Charlie was arrested by police officers and then taken to the police station to undergo some interrogation by the detectives. Baldwin went straight to the point and asked about how many bags of IV fluids Charlie had contaminated in the Parkfield Hospital. Baldwin also asked about the death of Ana Martinez and Kelly, but Charlie refused to talk. He just cried and shouted during the interrogation.
Charlie! We know how you poisoned the bags in the storeroom.
Charlie, listen. I can't! Yes, you can. I can!
The detectives couldn't gather any information from him. Baldwin reported to Amy that they would release Charlie by the next morning because there was no evidence or statement they could use to detain Charlie any longer. Worried about her and her children's safety, Amy willed to go to the police station to help with the investigation. Amy's role here was nothing more than a person visiting her friend who was in trouble. Amy tried to touch Charlie's heart by reminding him of how kind and generous he was to hide Amy's illness from the hospital and helped with her work during the night shift. Amy said that she would never understand what he had done, but to her, he was a good person. Thanks to Amy, Charlie started to mention names.
Tell the truth. Just tell me what you can remember.
Ana Martinez, Douglas Stevenson. I can't remember his name. He was younger.
Jack Ivins.
Yeah, Jack.
To avoid the death penalty, Charles confessed to the murder of 29 people while the actual number of victims is believed to be 400 people, and he never explained the motive why he did that. He is currently serving 18 consecutive life sentences and will not be released until 2403. Amy herself had undergone the heart surgery she needed and is currently living in Florida with her children and grandchildren. She is a hero for stopping serial murder cases, and currently, she is still a good nurse.